"Sir, your wife checked in yesterday with another man." I said that was impossible. She was home with our kids. But the security footage didn't lie. Neither did her boss's hand on her back. By the time I was done, they both lost everything. Revenge? No, just consequences. My name is Andrew Patterson. I'm 42 years old. And until 3 days ago, I thought I had it all figured out. Senior account executive at Brennan and Rhodes, one of the biggest advertising firms in Chicago. Good salary, respect from my peers, clients who actually return my calls. Married to Jennifer, my college sweetheart, for 15 years. 2 great kids, Emma, 13 going on 25, and Lucas, 8 years old and convinced he's going to be a paleontologist. We had the house in Evanston with the white fence, the golden retriever, the whole package. The American dream, right? I was in Cleveland when everything fell apart. Third day of a 4-day pitch to a manufacturing client who couldn't decide if they wanted to rebrand or just update their logo. Typical corporate indecision, the kind that pays my mortgage. I was staying at the Courtyard downtown, nothing fancy, just a clean room with a desk and terrible coffee. That morning, I'd been reviewing presentation slides when the phone rang. Hotel line, not my cell. I picked up expecting housekeeping or maybe the front desk asking about checkout. Instead, I got a young guy's voice, nervous, like he was about to tell me my car got towed. "Mr. Patterson," the voice said. It was the assistant manager. I'd seen his name tag the day before. Michael or Matthew, something like that. "Yeah, that's me," I replied, barely looking up from my laptop. There was a pause. Too long. The kind of silence that makes your brain start filling in blanks you don't want filled. "Sir, I need to inform you of something," he continued, and now his voice had that careful quality people use when they're walking on eggshells. "There's been a situation. Your wife, she checked in here yesterday afternoon. With another man." I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. Ridiculous. Impossible. "That's impossible," I told him, my voice steady and certain. "She's home with the kids in Evanston. You got the wrong person." Another pause. Longer this time. I could hear him breathing, could almost feel his discomfort radiating through the phone line. "Sir," he said, and his voice faltered, losing that professional polish. "I really need you to come down to the lobby. Please." The line went dead. I sat there, phone still pressed to my ear, staring at the Cleveland skyline through my window. My hand had gone numb. Not from cold, from something else. Something that hadn't fully registered yet, but was already working its way through my system like poison. That walk to the elevator was the longest 30 feet of my life. The elevator ride down felt like descending into cold water. Each floor, another layer of pressure building in my chest. I kept my breathing steady, hands loose at my sides, but my mind was running scenarios. Mistaken identity. A coincidence. Someone using her name fraudulently. There had to be a rational explanation because the alternative, the one trying to surface in my thoughts, that wasn't possible. Not Jen. Not my wife. The lobby was mostly empty. A couple checking out, a businessman on his phone, nobody paying attention to anything. The assistant manager was waiting near the front desk, a kid in his mid-20s with neat hair and a name tag that read Michael. He saw me coming, and his expression shifted, equal parts sympathy and dread. He gestured toward a door marked Manager's Office, and I followed him without a word. Inside, the actual manager was waiting. Older guy, maybe 55, gray at the temples, the kind of seasoned professional who'd probably handled every awkward situation a hotel could throw at him. He stood when I entered. "Mr. Patterson, I'm Richard Brennan, the general manager," he said, extending his hand. I shook it. Firm grip. He motioned to a chair. "Please sit down." I sat. Michael closed the door and stood by it, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. I apologized for the disturbance. Brennan began carefully. "But we have a situation that we felt you needed to be made aware of. Your guy said my wife checked in here," I said, keeping my voice level. "That's not possible. She's in Illinois." Brennan exchanged a glance with Michael, then turned to his computer monitor, angling it slightly so I could see. "This is from our security footage. Yesterday, approximately 4:15 in the afternoon." He hit play. The screen showed the lobby, black and white, timestamp in the corner. I watched people move through frame, and then I saw her. Jennifer, my wife, walking through the lobby doors wearing her gray pea coat, the one I'd bought her for Christmas 2 years ago. Her hair was down, and she was smiling. Next to her walked a man I'd never seen before. Tall, fit, probably mid-40s, wearing an expensive suit. They walked close together, comfortable, familiar. I watched them approach the front desk. Watched her hand over her ID. Watched the man stand behind her with his hand on her lower back. Watched her sign the registration. Watched them take the key cards, 2 of them, and head toward the elevators. My throat had gone dry. "There's more," Brennan said quietly, and he forwarded the footage. Different angle now, the elevator bay. I watched Jen and the man wait for the elevator. Watched her lean into him. Watched him kiss the top of her head. Watched the elevator doors open and swallow them both. The timestamp read 4:22 p.m. yesterday. At 4:30 yesterday, I'd been on a conference call with a client. I texted Jen around 5 asking how the kids were. She'd replied 20 minutes later, saying Emma had soccer practice and Lucas was doing homework. She'd sent me a photo of Lucas at the kitchen table with his math book. She'd lied, while standing in this hotel. "Do you recognize this man?" Brennan asked gently. I stared at the frozen image on screen. The man's face was clear enough. Strong jawline, confident posture, the kind of guy who looked like he belonged in a boardroom. "No," I said. My voice sounded distant, like it was coming from someone else. "I've never seen him before." Brennan nodded slowly. "The reservation was made under her name. Jennifer Patterson. She used a credit card registered to your household account. Our account. She'd used our money to book a hotel room with another man." I stood up. Not abruptly, just deliberately. Both men tensed slightly, probably expecting anger, maybe a scene. But I was too far past that for theatrics. "I need copies of everything," I said calmly. "The footage, the registration, the credit card receipt. All of it." Brennan hesitated, then nodded. "I can provide that. Email it to me," I said, pulling out my phone and giving him my personal email, not my work one. "And I need to know what room they're in." Brennan hesitated before answering. "Room 1847. But Mr. Patterson, I have to advise you that confronting them directly could complicate matters legally." "I'm not going up there," I said, and I meant it. Storming into a hotel room like some jealous husband in a bad movie wasn't my style. Besides, confrontation without preparation was just noise. I needed something more substantial than anger. "I need to know who he is." Brennan looked at Michael, who was already pulling up something on a tablet. "The second name on the reservation is Matthew Langley," Michael said. "Corporate card from Northfield Pharmaceuticals." Northfield, Jen's company. She'd been working there for 6 years as their marketing director. And suddenly, things started clicking into place with sickening clarity. "Pull up his information," I said. Michael tapped the screen, then turned it toward me. There was a business card image, professionally designed. Matthew Langley, Regional Vice President, Northfield Pharmaceuticals. Below that, a LinkedIn profile photo. Same face from his security footage, but now with context. 46 years old according to his bio. MBA from Northwestern. 15 years with the company. Based in the Chicago headquarters. Jen's boss, or close to it. Regional VP meant he oversaw several departments, including hers. I pulled out my phone and did my own quick search. Found his company profile easily enough. Then I found something more interesting. His personal Facebook page, semi-public. The kind of profile where privacy settings were set by someone who didn't quite understand how the internet worked. There were photos. Family photos. Matthew Langley with a blonde woman and 2 teenage boys at a football game. The caption from 3 months ago read, "Go Bears. Nothing better than game day with my beautiful wife Caroline and our boys." Caroline Langley, his wife, who had no idea her husband was in Cleveland with another woman. I screenshotted everything. His LinkedIn profile, his Facebook page, his company bio. Saved them all to a folder on my phone labeled simply Evidence. "Mr. Patterson," Brennan said carefully, "what do you plan to do with this information?" I looked up at him. "Whatever's necessary to protect my kids and myself. Legally." He nodded, understanding exactly what I meant. "The video files and documents will be in your email within the hour. Encrypted." "Thank you," I said, standing. I shook his hand again, then Michael's. "I appreciate your discretion." Back in my room, I sat on the edge of the bed and opened my laptop. First, I forwarded all the screenshots to my personal cloud storage, the one Jen didn't have access to. Then I opened a blank document, and started writing down everything I knew. Timeline, facts, evidence, names, dates, credit card transactions. I wasn't a lawyer, but I'd worked with enough of them to know that documentation mattered. Emotions didn't hold up in court. Facts did. My phone buzzed. A text from Jen. How's Cleveland? Kids miss you. Emma has a science test tomorrow. Love you. I stared at those words. Love you. Sent from a hotel room where she was sleeping with her boss. The audacity of it should have enraged me, but instead, I felt something colder. Resolve. I didn't respond. Not yet. I should have called her right then. Demanded answers. Forced a confrontation. Done what any normal husband would do. But I've never been impulsive, and this wasn't the time to start. Instead, I did something else. Something that had been nagging at the back of my mind since I saw that footage. If Jen was here in Cleveland with Matthew Langley, who the hell was watching Emma and Lucas? I pulled up my phone and called my mother-in-law, Diane. She answered on the third ring, cheerful and unsuspecting. Andrew, honey, how's the trip? Diane asked, that maternal warmth in her voice that always made me feel welcome, even after 15 years. It's fine, Diane. Quick question, are the kids with you? I kept my tone casual, just checking in. With me? No, sweetie. I thought they were with Jennifer at that conference thing. The family leadership retreat she mentioned. She said it was some new company initiative, bring your kids to understand work-life balance, or something corporate like that. My blood went cold. Conference? What conference? The one in Indianapolis, I think she said. She told me last week you'd all be gone Tuesday through Thursday. Said it was mandatory for directors and above. Diane's voice shifted, concern creeping in. Andrew, is everything okay? Yeah, everything's fine. I lied smoothly. I must have got my wires crossed. Let me call Jen. I hung up before she could ask more questions. Indianapolis. A family leadership retreat. Complete fiction. I checked the dates. Tuesday through Thursday. Today was Wednesday. The kids had been gone since yesterday. I immediately called Emma's cell phone. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. I tried Lucas's tablet, the one with the tracking app I'd installed after he left it at a friend's house last year. The app loaded slowly, then displayed a message. Device offline. Both offline. Emma never turned off her phone. Never. I called the house landline, knowing it was pointless. It rang until the answering machine picked up. I called St. Mary's Academy, the kids' school. The receptionist answered with her practiced cheerfulness. St. Mary's, how may I help you? This is Andrew Patterson, Emma and Lucas Patterson's father. Can you confirm if they've been in school this week? Papers shuffled. Keys clicked. Let me check, Mr. Patterson. A pause. No, sir. Both Emma and Lucas have been marked absent since Tuesday. We received a note from Mrs. Patterson indicating they'd be attending a family educational event. A note. She'd covered her tracks there too. Thank you, I said and hung up. My wife had removed our children from school, fabricated a story about a corporate retreat, lied to her mother, and somehow made both kids unreachable. This wasn't just an affair. This was planning. Orchestration. She'd moved them somewhere, told no one, and left me in the dark 3 states away. I opened my contacts and scrolled to a name I hadn't called in 2 years. Frank Russo, a private investigator I'd worked with on a client case involving corporate espionage. Frank was thorough, discreet, and expensive. Worth every penny. He answered immediately. Patterson, long time. Frank, I need a favor. Big one. I need to find my kids. Frank Russo arrived at my hotel room 90 minutes later. He was exactly how I remembered him. Mid-50s, gray hair, buzzed military short, wearing jeans and a black jacket that probably concealed more than one weapon. He shook my hand with that firm grip that said he'd seen everything and wouldn't be shocked by anything I told him. Talk to me, Frank said, sitting in the desk chair while I remained standing by the window. I laid it all out. The hotel footage, Matthew Langley, the fabricated story about a retreat, the kids missing from school, the devices offline. I showed him everything on my laptop, every screenshot, every email, every piece of evidence I compiled. Frank listened without interrupting, his expression neutral, but his eyes sharp. When I finished, he leaned back and exhaled slowly. Your wife didn't just have an affair, Frank said flatly. She executed a plan. The question is why she moved the kids and where they are now. Can you find them? I asked. I can find anyone, Frank replied, already pulling out his own laptop. But I need to start with the breadcrumbs. You said the babysitter mentioned something. I nodded. Jen uses a college girl named Riley Thompson. She watches the kids maybe twice a month. I'll call her. Riley answered on the second ring, sounding young and nervous when I identified myself. Mr. Patterson, hi. Is everything okay? Riley, I need to ask you something important. Did Jennifer ask you to do anything with Emma and Lucas this week? A pause. Yeah. She asked me to meet someone Monday evening at the Shell station on Route 41. She said it was a family friend who'd drive them the rest of the way to the lake house. My heart rate spiked. Lake house? What lake house? She didn't give me the address, Riley said quickly, sounding worried now. She just said it was a family thing, that you knew about it. The kids seemed excited. They had their backpacks and everything. Riley, describe the person who picked them up. A man. Maybe late 30s, early 40s. He was wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses. Drove a black SUV, a newer model. He seemed nice. The kids got in without any problems. Did he give you a name? He said his name was Brian. Said he worked with Mr. Langley. There it was. Matthew Langley's name, directly connected to my children's disappearance. Riley, thank you. If Jennifer contacts you, don't mention we talked. I hung up and relayed everything to Frank, who was already typing rapidly. Shell station on Route 41, Frank muttered. They'll have security cameras. I'll pull the footage, get a plate number on that SUV. If this Brian character works for Langley, we'll find him through employment records. How long? I asked. Give me 4 hours, Frank said, standing. In the meantime, don't contact your wife. Don't tip your hand. If she knows you're onto her, she might move the kids again. He left, and I was alone with my thoughts and a burning question. What was Jen planning? Why remove the kids? Was this about custody, about setting up some narrative where I was the absent father, or was it something worse? My phone buzzed. Another text from Jen. Emma wants to video chat before bed. Can you call in 20 minutes? I stare at that message. She wanted me to video chat with Emma, but Emma wasn't home. Emma was wherever Jen had hidden her. Unless Jen was going to put Emma on camera from wherever they were, maintaining the lie, I decided to call her bluff. I waited exactly 20 minutes, then initiated a video call to Emma's phone. It rang 3 times before Emma's face filled my screen. She was in a bedroom I didn't recognize, plain white walls, a lamp on a nightstand behind her. Hey, Dad, Emma said, and she sounded normal. Maybe a little tired, but normal. Hey, sweetheart, I replied, keeping my voice steady and warm. How was your day? Good. We went hiking. Lucas found a frog. She smiled, but there was something in her eyes. Something cautious. Hiking? That sounds fun. Where are you guys? At the lake house, Emma said, and I caught the slight hesitation. Mom's friend's place. It's pretty nice. Mom's friend. Not our friend. Not family. Is Mom there? Can I talk to her? She's downstairs making hot chocolate. Want me to get her? No, that's okay. Emma, honey, can you do me a favor? Can you look out the window and tell me what you see? Emma glanced off camera, then back at me. Trees. A lake. It's pretty dark out. Any houses nearby? Any signs, street names? Her expression shifted slightly. She was 13, smart enough to realize something was off about these questions. Dad, is everything okay? Everything's fine. I lied. I just miss you guys. Can you put Lucas on? Emma turned away from the camera and called out. A moment later, Lucas's face appeared, grinning with that gap-toothed smile. Dad, guess what? I caught a frog and it peed on me. Despite everything, I smiled. That's what frogs do, buddy. You having fun? Yeah, but I miss home. When are we coming back? Soon, Lucas. Is Mom taking good care of you? Yeah, but she's been on the phone a lot. With that Matthew guy. My chest tightened. Matthew? You've met him. Yeah, he came by yesterday. Brought us pizza. He's okay, I guess. Emma doesn't like him. Why doesn't Emma like him? Lucas shrugged. She said he's not, Dad. She's been weird. Emma's voice came from off camera, sharp and older sibling authoritative. Lucas, give me the phone. Emma's face reappeared. Dad, I have to go. Mom's calling us. Okay, baby. I love you. Both of you. Love you too, Emma said, and the call ended. I sat there staring at the blank screen, my mind processing what I just learned. The kids were a lake house, probably somewhere within driving distance of Chicago. Matthew Langley had visited them. Emma was uncomfortable, smart enough to sense something wrong. Lucas was oblivious, but had confirmed Langley's involvement. My phone buzzed with Frank's number. "I've got something," Frank said without preamble. "The SUV from the gas station camera belongs to a Brian Hendricks, 38, works as a facilities coordinator for Northfield Pharmaceuticals. He's on Matthew Langley's direct team. So Langley used a company employee to transport my kids. Looks that way. And I've got more. Property records show Langley owns a vacation home in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. 3 bedrooms, secluded area, purchased 8 years ago. I'd bet money that's where your kids are. Lake Geneva, 2 hours from Chicago. Send me the address," I said. "Andrew, wait. If you go up there alone." "I'm not going alone," I interrupted. "But I am going. Those are my children, and I'm bringing them home." Before I left for Lake Geneva, I needed to set one more piece in motion. The kind of move that wouldn't just expose the affair, but would detonate it from the inside. I sat down at my laptop and opened a new email. The recipient was David Kellerman, Chief Operating Officer of Northfield Pharmaceuticals. I met him twice at company events Jen had dragged me to. He was old school corporate, the kind of executive who talked about integrity and accountability like they were religious principles. I kept the email brief and professional. Subject: urgent matter requiring executive attention. Matthew Langley. Mr. Kellerman, I'm writing to bring to your attention a matter involving Matthew Langley, Regional Vice President, that poses significant risk to Northfield Pharmaceuticals. Attached you'll find documented evidence of Mr. Langley engaging in an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate employee, Jennifer Patterson, Marketing Director. This includes hotel security footage showing both individuals checking into a Cleveland hotel together, credit card records showing corporate funds used for personal accommodations, multiple documented instances of similar behavior over a 3-month period, evidence of Mr. Langley using company resources and personnel to facilitate personal matters involving my minor children. I'm providing this information not out of personal vindictiveness, but because I believe the company has a right to know when senior leadership engages in conduct that violates corporate policy and potentially exposes Northfield to legal liability. I've attached comprehensive documentation. I'm available to discuss this matter at your convenience. Respectfully, Andrew Patterson. I attached everything. The hotel footage, the registration documents, the credit card charges, screenshots of Matthew Langley's employee profile, property records for the Lake Geneva house, and the gas station footage showing Brian Hendricks picking up my kids. My finger hovered over the send button for exactly 3 seconds. Then I clicked it. One text, I thought. Well, one email. Same principle. One message that would burn down everything they'd built. The email whooshed away into the digital ether. Within minutes, I got a read receipt. Kellerman had opened it. No response yet, but I knew how these things worked. By morning, there'd be lawyers involved. HR investigations. Career-ending conversations. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the parking garage. Lake Geneva was 2 hours north, and I was done waiting. The drive gave me time to think, to plan, to let the cold calculations settle in where the anger had been. I wasn't going to storm in and make a scene. I was going to walk in like the father I was, document everything, and remove my children from a situation they never should have been in. Frank had sent me photos of the property. A nice 2-story cabin with a wraparound porch, nestled in trees about 50 yards from the lake. Isolated enough for privacy, accessible enough that someone checking wouldn't need 4-wheel drive. When I pulled up to the property at just after 8 p.m., lights were on inside. 2 cars in the driveway. One was a black SUV, probably the same one from the gas station footage. The other was a silver sedan I didn't recognize. I parked on the road, pulled out my phone, and started recording. Documented the house, the cars, the license plates. Then I called the local police non-emergency line. Walworth County Sheriff. How can I help you? I need to report a custodial issue, I said calmly. My children were removed from Illinois without my knowledge or consent and are currently at a property in Lake Geneva. I'm the father. I have documentation, and I need assistance recovering them safely. The deputy arrived 20 minutes later, a young guy named Collins who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. I met him at his patrol car with my driver's license, documentation showing I was Emma and Lucas's father, and printouts of everything relevant. Mr. Patterson, Collins said after reviewing the documents, your children are inside this residence? Yes, sir. My wife removed them from school Monday, fabricated a story about a family trip, and brought them here without informing me. I only discovered their location today. Colin studied the house, then me. Is there any custody agreement in place? Any restraining orders? No, sir. We're married. No separation. No custody arrangement. No court orders. These are my children, and they were taken without my knowledge. All right, Colin said. Let me go knock on the door, verify the children's presence and well-being. You stay here. I nodded and watched him approach the house. He knocked firmly. After a moment, the door opened. A man I recognized from the gas station footage, Brian Hendricks, stood in the doorway. Colin spoke to him, showed his badge. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I saw Hendricks's body language shift, defensive and uncomfortable. Then Emma appeared behind Hendricks. She saw the police car, saw me standing beside it, and her face lit up. She pushed past Hendricks and ran down the porch steps. Dad! I caught her as she reached me, hugged her tight. She was trembling. It's okay, baby, I said quietly. I'm here now. Lucas appeared next, confused but excited, running to me like nothing was wrong. Dad, you came to the lake house. Collins walked back over, Hendricks trailing behind him looking pale. Mr. Patterson, your children are clearly happy to see you and show no signs of distress about leaving with you, Collins said. Mr. Hendricks here claims he was told by your wife this was an approved family arrangement. It wasn't, I said flatly, and I'd like to take my children home now. You're free to do so, Collins said. Then he turned to Hendricks. Sir, I'd suggest you contact Mrs. Patterson and inform her of the situation. Hendricks nodded weakly and pulled out his phone. I loaded Emma and Lucas into my car, buckled them in, and pulled away from that house without looking back. In the rearview mirror, I saw Collins still talking to Hendricks, probably getting a statement. Emma was quiet in the passenger seat. Lucas was already half asleep in the back. Dad, Emma said softly. Mom said we were on vacation, but it didn't feel like vacation. She kept crying when she thought we weren't watching. I reached over and squeezed her hand. It's over now, Em. We're going home. My phone rang. Jen's number. I let go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. Finally, I answered. Put on speaker. Andrew, what the hell did you do? Jen's voice was shrill, panicked. Brian just called me. You took the kids. I recover my children, I corrected. The ones you removed from school and hid in Wisconsin without telling me. You had no right. I had every right. I'm their father. And Jen, check your work email. You're going to want to talk to HR soon. I hung up before she could respond. The meeting happened 3 days after I brought the kids home. Not in some dramatic courtroom scene, but in a sterile conference room at the offices of Barnes & Associates, the law firm I'd retained within hours of returning to Evanston. My attorney, Sarah Barnes, was a shark in a business suit, 50-something with silver hair and a reputation for dismantling opposing counsel. Jen sat across from me with her own lawyer, a younger guy named Phillips who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Jen's face was pale, makeup barely hiding the dark circles under her eyes. She wouldn't meet my gaze. Sarah laid out the terms with surgical precision. Full custody of Emma and Lucas to me, with supervised visitation for Jen. The house would be sold, proceeds split evenly. Retirement accounts divided per Illinois law. No alimony, given the circumstances. And a comprehensive non-disclosure agreement protecting the children from any public discussion of the affair. This is outrageous, Phillips started, but Jen put her hand on his arm. It's over, she said quietly. Just give me a pen. She signed every document without argument. Her hand shook, but she signed. After they left, Sarah looked at me. That was easier than I expected. She didn't have a choice, I said. Northfield fired her and Matthew Langley last week. His wife Caroline filed for divorce the day after I sent that email. Turns out her father's a federal judge. Matthew's being sued for misuse of company resources. Jen's career in pharmaceutical marketing is done. She knows fighting me would just make it worse. What about the kids? Sarah asked. Emma's in therapy. Lucas thinks we're just taking a break from Mom. They're resilient. They'll be okay. I drove home that afternoon feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Not happiness exactly, but relief. The kind that comes from knowing you did everything right, everything by the book, and still won. Emma was at the kitchen table doing homework when I got home. She looked up as I entered. Is it done? She asked. At 13, She understood more than I wish she had to. It's done, I confirmed. You and Lucas stay with me. Mom can visit, but we're the primary home now. Emma nodded slowly. Dad, I found something on my phone last week. Mom had been recording voice memos. She was practicing what to say to a lawyer about you being gone all the time. She was planning this for months. I sat down next to her. Emma, your mom made choices. Bad ones. But that doesn't mean she doesn't love you and Lucas. It just means sometimes adults mess up badly. Do you still love her? I thought about that question. I loved who I thought she was. That person doesn't exist anymore. 10 months later, I stood in the bleachers at Emma's soccer game, watching her score the winning goal. She'd grown 3 inches, made the varsity team as an 8th grader, and smiled more in the past few months than she had in the previous year. Lucas sat next to me, his attention split between a dinosaur book and the game. He'd adjusted faster than Emma, the way young kids do. He saw Jen every other weekend, supervised visits at his grandmother's house. He didn't ask too many questions anymore. Nice shot, Em. A voice called from beside me. I turned to see Rachel Bennett, another soccer parent I've been talking to for the past month. She taught chemistry at the high school, had a 12-year-old daughter on Emma's team, and had been divorced for 3 years. We'd started with small talk at games, progressed to coffee, and last week, an actual dinner date. Your daughter's really talented, Rachel said, smiling at me. She works hard, I replied. Takes after her old man. Rachel laughed. She had an easy laugh, genuine. Nothing like the calculated charm Jen used to deploy. So, are we still on for Saturday? The kids want to check out that new science museum, Rachel asked. Absolutely. Lucas has been talking about it all week. Emma jogged over after the game, sweaty and triumphant. Did you see that goal, Dad? Best thing I've seen all week, I said, hugging her despite her protests about being gross and sweaty. She noticed Rachel and gave me a look. The kind of look that said she knew exactly what was developing here and provisionally approved. Later that evening, after Lucas was asleep and Emma was in her room doing homework, I stood in my kitchen making coffee and thought about the past year. The betrayal, the investigation, the legal battles, all of it had been necessary. Painful, but necessary. My phone buzzed. A text from Frank Russo, saw the game. Emma's killing it. Lunch next week? I smiled and replied, absolutely. Thanks for everything. Frank had become something of a friend over the past months. Turned out shared trauma created bonds. I walked to Emma's door and knocked. You good, kiddo? She looked up from her laptop. Yeah, Dad. I'm good. Actually good. Me too, Em. Me too. I closed her door and walked downstairs, poured my coffee, and sat on the back porch. The house was quiet, peaceful. Mine. Somewhere across town, Jen was living in a small apartment, working part-time at a medical supply company, and trying to rebuild a life she'd demolished with her own choices. I didn't hate her. I didn't think about her much at all anymore. Matthew Langley had lost everything. His job, his marriage, his reputation. Last I heard, Caroline had taken him for everything in the divorce. His own kids barely spoke to him. Consequences. I finished my coffee and went back inside. Tomorrow, I had a client presentation. Emma had practice. Lucas had a play date. Life, normal and stable, exactly what my kids needed. The doorbell rang. Rachel stood there with a casserole dish. I made too much lasagna, she said with a grin. Thought you might want some. I stepped aside to let her in. Perfect timing.